Hey guys, I'm back with 12-3. There's three parts to this. So we're going to complete a payroll register, then we're going to total the columns, and then we are going to post to the earnings record. Okay, so that is the plan for 12-3. Um, this is, everything we did up to this point, we're determining employee compensation. But right now, we're actually going to then, do our typical posting and recording that we do for accounting. So where we store all of this information in our records for our business is in the employee earnings record. You will find an example of that on page 360 in your textbook. And just like is usually in your PowerPoint slides, on page 361, it tells you all of the steps that you need to take um, when you're entering information. The mathematical type recording and equations, whatever you need to do to determine, basically just doing the math to determine the difference between what we say in personal finance is your gross pay and your net pay. Your gross pay is that starting amount when we figure the pay. So just with what's up on my screen right now with Edward Johnson, it shows a total pay of $1432.50. The net pay is that take-home pay after all these deductions come out of the paycheck. Okay, so reading through the directions here, it says a payroll register for Judy's Fashions is provided. Complete the payroll register for the semi-monthly pay period ended July 15th, 20 whatever. Use the federal income tax withholding tables in lesson 12-2 of your textbook. Use tax rates of 6.2 for Social Security and 1.45% for Medicare tax. Round dollar amounts to the nearest cent. Neither employee has reached the tax base. Withhold $60 for healthcare insurance and $15 for a Roth IRA for each employee. The voluntary deductions are not eligible to be deducted from total earnings to calculate your payroll taxes. Okay, so they are not eligible to be deducted. That means that they don't get a tax break for participating in them. Whenever you hear that you get a tax break for being a part of a program, that means when you report to the IRS, you get to deduct those things from the pay, and then that ends up being the amount. So in this case, for Edward Johnson, the 1320, if he could deduct that, you would take the $75 from his pay, and that's what would get reported to the IRS for his earnings instead of the 1320. Obviously, it all goes to the IRS because they see it all anyway. But you get a tax break at some companies for participating in that. A 401k typically works that way for that type of retirement, and IRA not so much. Okay, so woohoo! So we're starting with, you'll see those first three columns are filled out for you. So the determining the pay off the time cards has already been done in that earnings section of the payroll register. But we're going to start, if we look on page 360, it tells us that our first step is typing in the date. So this says that this is for July 15th. So we're writing July. Oh, that's really tiny. Make that bigger. That's why it doesn't like it. July 15. Okay. And the date of the payment is the same. So again, we're typing July and then 15. There you go. Okay. So federal income tax, again, we got to go back to, what is it, page, he's married, and he's got the number of allowances is 2, so we're going to go back to page 354 in the textbook to find that tax table. We are going to look for 1432.50, 1432.50, and he's got 2 allowances, so it looks like that should be $61 for his federal income tax withheld. Okay. And then Social Security tax is again that $1432.50. $1432.50 times 0.062 is $88.82. And then Medicare tax is at 1.45%. So I'm gonna 45, and that's just gonna be $20.77. Oh, that's a terrible. There we go. Okay, $20.77. And then health insurance was $60, right? I'm going to be honest with you. A person who's got a family is going to pay more for health insurance than a single person. Okay. And then the retirement plan is almost always going to be based on what you set up. So I'm not going to lie to you. This process is a little more complicated than this scenario is making it out for you. So the net pay, once we do all the math, so we're going to take the $1432.50, we're going to subtract $61 for federal tax, 82 for Social Security, $20.77 for Medicare, $60 for health insurance, $15 for a retirement plan. And when it is all said and done, that net pay is $1186.91. So $1186.91. Okay, that is. Oops. Sorry, I lied to you. That goes in the net pay column. We're supposed to total up the deductions first. One of these days, I'll be able to do this stuff without getting ahead of myself. Okay, so this total, if we add all those up together, is $245.59. $245.59. Again, we're just adding all of these deductions up together. Okay, so that is that part. The check number is going to come later when we actually write the check, because that's the final step in this lesson. Okay, so now we have Janice Nelson. She's got $971.75. So this is on the table on page 353. She is $975. And how many allowances does she have? She has 1 allowance, so $975. She should have $76. Yep, 76 taken out of her paycheck. So again, we're using the tables in the textbook to determine the federal income tax on 353 and 354. And then we need to do the math again. And so if I take 971.75 times 0.62, oops, sorry, that was wrong, 0.062, $60.25 should be the Social Security tax withdrawal. So 60.25, because we round up. 60.25, and our Medicare tax. At 1.45% is $14.09. And then we've got the $60 for the 15 for the IRA, and the total contributions for this individual is $225.34. we add those deductions up, and then we're going to take the 971.75, subtract 225.34, and the take-home pay for Janice is $746.41. The rule of thumb for budgeting that I give students in personal finance is that you're looking at taking a quarter or a third of your paycheck away. So there you go. So the next step would involve totaling these columns up. So I'm going to go ahead and move my picture out of the way here. We're going to grade step 1 and see if I made any mistakes. What did I do wrong there? Oh, yep, I got a 0. I fat fingered it. It should be 149.07. Medicare tax. Nope, it should be, I typed in the totals. It should be 60.25 for Medicare tax. Oh no, it's $14.09. So it didn't catch my dot. So, okay, again, that stuff is super important. And so that should be $14.09. That's way too much of a deduction. So in the next step, we're going to total the columns, and that is literally just adding these all up. So you're just going to add the columns all the way down. For time's sake, I'm just going to type in the answers from the answer key because it is simple addition. I can see my giant hands again. I hate that. My webcam never showed up. I'm so disappointed because I desperately wanted to change the angle of my videos because this is not very flattering. Let's see, 137. $907, 34, 86, 20, 30, and then 470.93. And again, you're just literally adding these sums up. And then 1933. All right. Hopefully I have no typos in there, but again, we are literally for this step just adding up the columns. Step 2 is totaling the columns and it's adding them all up all the way down the payroll register. And yay, it's happy with me. Okay, so step 3 now is recording at the earnings register for the quarter. And that's just a matter of taking these numbers and plunking them in down here. No, it's not. Oh, I'm sorry. We're only recording the earnings for the person. It's not for the quarter, it's for the person. And so it's just having us, we would have one under normal circumstances for Edward Johnson and Janice Nelson, but for the sake of this assignment, we are just doing Edward Johnson's. And again, this is tricky going up and down, but we are recording this line in the earnings record. Okay, so we're going to start by putting in the date. So if we look at this, oh, here we go. Enter the July 15 payroll information on Mr. Johnson's quarterly earnings. Mr. Johnson is employee number 2. Rate of pay is $15 an hour. Social Security number. His position as a sales manager. His accumulated earnings at the end of the second quarter are $17,218. So, okay, so I have a problem with this because nowhere in here does it tell you. I have a feeling the date's gonna be marked wrong. I'm hoping it's not, but we're gonna. Nope. Very strange. Okay. So the answer key says it's September 30th. So this is another one of those weirdo things where the book and the program don't agree with each other. And, with me and my lack of confidence in this subject matter, this just really throws me for a loop. So, okay. So we are putting July 15 in for the date. And then we need to fill out all this stuff at the top. So he's employee number 2. He is married. So we put an M in. He has 2 allowances, right? He gets $15 an hour. His social security number is already in there for us, so that's nice. And his position is sales manager. Okay. So we have to fill out the top of this for us. And now this is where we are literally just going to record this information across the top. And again, just for the sake of not making you dizzy with me going back and forth between the 2 parts of the screen, I'm just going to copy off the answer key. So we're starting with 1320. His overtime was 112. Oops, let's not do that. 112.50. His total is 1432.50. His federal income tax is $61. His social security tax $88.82. Medicare is $20.77. Health insurance is $60. His retirement plan. If we were in class right now, you'd be yelling at me for my typo. And then the total is total deductions were $245.59, and his net pay is $1186.91. And his accumulated earnings, this was back up here, were $17,218, so $17,218. Now we have to subtract his net pay from there, add his net pay, because this is his record of how much he's earned. This would be the year-to-date column on a pay stub. So for this, it's $18,000 because we're adding it. $650.50. So there's that. Okay. So let's see how happy it is with me. Did not like my date, so it did mark it wrong. See, I don't understand why this is September. The quarterly, it says enter the July 15 payroll. Where does it tell us it's September? Unless we're just supposed to know because it's July and July falls in the 3rd quarter earnings, which would be the end of September. But yeah, that's a little tricky. Let me see if there's a spot in here that tells us where the quarter is. A way to know that. I'm looking in the book really quickly since I did that wrong. Quarterly. Yeah, no, it's not telling us. I think you just have to up front. You have to go forward and figure out. The first quarter is March, then it's July, then it's September, and then December is the end, of course. So yeah, that was a little messy. That should have been September 30th. So the answer key was correct, and I was wrong. I'm very confused. Okay, I won't make that mistake twice. All right, so that's all I have for now. I'll be back with 12-4.